That was a hot mess inside a dumpster fire, inside a train wreck.
And welcome to Socially Distant, a very special episode today.
I feel special right now, I have to just tell you.
We usually get pretty weird with things sometimes. I think that really takes the cake for just out of left field, though.
Well, nice to see you guys.
Likewise. Everyone, this is just a next level episode because, as you see, it's not just Richie and I. We're getting a little presidential today because we have the Snoo President, Paul LeBlanc, on the show. Paul, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I'd just like to clarify the president who does wear a mask. Just saying.
Yes. We leave the presidential just the term, and then everything else is purely subjective.
Yep, absolutely.
So,
it's good to be here, guys. It's going good.
I'm so glad to have you on.
Hey, it's a pleasure.
I'm super excited for this. We're both SNHU alum, if you can't tell.
Yes, we got all.
We're in the crowd. I got my SNHU College for America shirt on. Yeah, we're loving it.
And yeah, we kind of just started this thing, 6 months ago now?
Yeah, just about.
Almost 7 months now. And it's been so fun because I've got to talk to a bunch of different people. We've got to talk to a bunch of different people.
Yeah.
And I feel like right now we've hit our peak. And I
yeah,
feel like
this
if
is
we go any further after this, we're just gonna jump that shark and not figure out what to do. Henry Winkler's gonna be there. It's
gonna be great.
Well, you're very kind to say it. I'm flattered to be on. Can't say no to a couple of SNHU alums.
Absolutely, it's been fun because it started out with Richie and I, just us talking, and then we're like, oh well, we can get some people that we're friends with. Okay, well maybe we can get some people that are maybe outside of our friend group. And let's just start punching up and see where we can get. And right now, this is our crest.
Well, you're still pretty low, but I've got faith in you guys. You'll do better than this. You'll do better than this. I know you will.
Thank you.
So Paul, how have you been? How have you been lately?
Like everyone else, trying to adjust to this kind of weird new normal, whatever this normal is. Yes. The days are long, the weeks are long because people are working hard and trying to take really good care of students. Our online enrollments are surging, so like crazy. So we've hired 300 more full-time staff this summer, and I just gave a green light to hire another 260. Wow. So that gives you some sense of the order of magnitude. And on the other hand, our campus students are desperate to get back, and we're watching very carefully the progress of the pandemic and how people are faring. We'll probably know in another month how that's going. But, we've got nothing to complain about. I think one of the things you see in our country right now is that if you're lucky enough to have some resources, you're probably doing fine.
Yes.
And if you are, struggling economically, if you've lost your job, it's hard. And there's a lot of suffering right now in the country. So I have nothing to complain. I'm very grateful is what I am. Very grateful.
Yeah, from what I've been able to pick up, and I'm sure Richie has through just conversation and everything, it seems like SNHU has been doing a fantastic job at, trying to keep this timeline that you're still moving forward, but not too fast, and making sure that everyone's safe and comfortable. And I think that it's been a really awesome thing to see that kind of response from our school. So great job.
Thank you. I think everyone's perception of safety is different, right?
Absolutely.
Perception of risk is different. So there are definitely some people who think we should have reopened and they'd like to be back now or like to be back in January. And I get it. We all want to be back. But I think, our focus has been, first of all, keep people safe. We have a lot of staff and faculty. So it's not just students who are, lower risk, but we have a lot of staff and faculty who might be higher risk. And then try to keep everybody employed. So we had no layoffs, no furloughs.
Wow.
Even if people didn't have work, like if you serve students on campus, there are no students, what are you doing? But just trying to keep people busy, but we want to try to hold on to people as much as we possibly can. And then kind of move forward. So I think we're in good shape.
That is always great to hear and very good to see.
So yeah. Weber, what do you have any questions that you like to
I don't have a question, but I have a quick story that I've been very excited to share. I thought about this once we had the idea. And I guess with context of how this episode came to be, it was funny. I had seen one of your tweets one day, and I thought, I was like, oh, well, that's pretty funny. It was something with a good little quick joke in it. And I messaged Richie and I go, Richie, how do we get Paul LeBlanc on the podcast? And he goes, I don't know. Let me tweet at him and see what happens. And then it happens.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well,
But so later
how many students have figured out that if they need to like get me quickly, they use Twitter. And a lot of our offices now monitor my Twitter account because they're like, oh, someone's complaining about something.
But so my story with this is I thought about this, the day that we had the idea, and I got really excited. So there is a bagel shop in my hometown of Newtown, Connecticut called Bagel Delight. And it's owned by, hands down, the sweetest, nicest old woman named Eunice. She is incredible, absolute angel, like treasure of Newtown, everyone will agree. And also some of the best bagels I've ever had. So back, maybe like late 2018, early 2019, I'm looking for work. I would go to the library in town to focus a little bit better and get some work done. And I'd always stop by the bagel shop. And one day, I guess I was wearing either a Snoo hoodie or my Snoo shirt. She goes, oh, SNHU, that's the online school, right? And I go, oh, well, there's a campus too. I went to the campus, but they also have an online program. She goes, oh, yeah, I always see their commercials. Who's that man who's always talking on there? Is that like the president of the school? I'm like, yeah, that's President Paul LeBlanc. He's a great guy. And she goes, oh, he always seems so nice.
Oh, thank you, Eunice.
So that's cool. That's cool enough. But then when you put it into, then we have 6 months of whatever this is.
Yep.
Just within the past month and a half, I go back to the bagel store for the first time in who knows how, when I was visiting my parents. And I wasn't wearing any Snoo merch, but I go in. She goes, oh, it's so nice to see you again. And I say, of course. I thought she was just being friendly. And I have not seen this woman, talk to her in months. She goes, yeah, every time I see one of those Snoo commercials and the president talking on one of the commercials, I think of you. And I was just like, oh my God. I went into my car and cried. It was so sweet. But I was just like, how cool is that?
That's so nice that Eunice would think of that.
But so I was like, I need to tell him this story.
Yeah, I think you have to sort of email me the name of the bagel shop. I'll send her a note.
I will. I definitely will.
Send her a note and a Snoo gear to put up on the wall.
Yes, I think she would love that. She is a treasure. She will remember everyone that comes through that door just based on principle.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I love it.
But with that story, I do have a quick, fun little question. Because your face is so known on, Snoo advertising and the commercials, what's like the weirdest or most, I guess, strangest place you've been recognized, or just the weirdest situation where someone goes, are you on a commercial? Has that ever happened in a very strange way?
So it's funny. It's actually less about being my face being recognized. I have a face for radio, not television, but my voice being recognized. And I was in a elevator somewhere like Cleveland, right? And at a hotel at a conference, I was talking to somebody, I was getting off the phone, and the guy in the elevator looks at me and goes, I think I know you. I was like, well, I'm from New Hampshire. He goes, no, I've never been to New Hampshire. Like, are you local? I was like, I don't spend a lot of time in Cleveland. I don't know how we'd run into each other. He goes, God, I feel like I know you. And I knew where this was going. I was like, you have a TV? I said, yeah. You ever see commercials for SNHU? You're the stand-up guy. You're the guy that does stand-up. I was like, yep, that's me. No, so I get people who do the voice. I was on the phone, I called recently, I think it was some customer service thing. And the one says, do you do television commercials? Like, no, but I'm in some, actually. I thought at SNHU, oh my God, that's you. I knew I recognized your voice. No, I don't think my voice is distinctive, but people say it is. I don't know.
That's actually, I think, more funny than being recognized on just the face basis, because that's a little bit more understandable that, oh, well, maybe you see someone that's not really them. But when you dial in the voice and it's like, I've heard that voice before, that's even funnier.
Yeah. No, we get that fairly often. Yeah.
So one thing that I always love to talk about, especially on this podcast, we talk a lot about it, is music. And about 2 years ago, to the day, according to my Time Hop app, I tweeted at you and said, "Is at SNHU Prez a fan of the Grateful Dead?" And I don't know if I can share this reply, but you said, "Unfortunately, no, I never got on that smoke-filled train." But I know you are a big fan of The National.
Huge
Um,
fan.
as a band. And one thing that I love about that, and I think it kind of merged together, is a couple of years ago, the National actually curated a box set tribute to the Grateful Dead called Day of the Dead with Bob Weir.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I don't know why, whenever I saw that, I was like, oh, the National. So speaking of music, so what is it that you love about the National?
Boy, so one is just the sheer musicality. You know, one of the things I'm doing during the pandemic is trying to learn to play an instrument, which I've never done before. I'm trying to learn how to play guitar, and
Nice.
yeah, and it's hard, you know. And I thought I should try to do something that I don't have a propensity for. So it's good for your brain to do hard things. And when you said so, my guitar teacher was just great. We were just talking about music, and he didn't really know the National very much, and he sort of observed what I thought was the case in my the sheer musicality. I mean, these guys are all conservatory graduates, so the arrangements are complex and interesting. And he was talking about how, you know, so much of the rock and roll that I grew up with is like the simplest 3 and 4 chord arrangement. There's like no complexity really. And you know, the chord combinations most of them have is because they're actually not very good guitar players, so they had to do something that they could move their fingers to quickly. You know, like. So that's certainly one. I think I love Matt Berninger, the lead singer, that sort of deep baritone voice. It's like one of the few bands I can sing along with. And then I think there's a kind of intelligence and opacity to their, you know, it's just not that sort of dumb. Like, I love pop music as much as the next person, but there is a complexity to their lyrics and their arrangements that's just great. So I love everything. You know, it's funny because I'm way too old to be a groupie, but we've traveled. My wife and I have gone to see them in Dallas. We flew to Dallas to see them. We've gone to Montreal to see them. We've seen them up in Portland, Maine. We've seen them in Boston. We've seen them in upstate New York. There's very few bands that kind of go into that category for me. And by the way, while I was not a Grateful Dead fan, I'm a huge admirer of anyone who is a fan. Like, whatever your love is. And by the way, we should really take a moment of silence for Eddie Van Halen, who passed away today.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's one of the little sort of tidbits about Eddie Van Halen people don't know. He was a great classical pianist.
Yeah.
He actually grew up playing classical piano before he played guitar. And good guitar players can hear that reflected in his playing, actually. But yeah, so that's why I love the National.
Yeah, his dad was a clarinet player, I believe.
Yeah.
I believe it was clarinet. So
Amazing.
Comes from a classical family.
That's actually a really cool thing about his piano playing, because when I was learning guitar, I was taught to look at the neck of the guitar as a piano, how it goes up by half steps and everything like that. So that's kind of, I just think I kind of pulled that together right now, but I think that's really cool that you can hear when someone plays another instrument. Because I started playing drums, and I'm a trained rock and jazz player.
I didn't know
and then
that.
I went and started going into guitar, and when I started taking lessons, Roy DiCenzo, who I took lessons over at SNHU, he looked at me and said, "Do you play drums?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I play drums." And he goes, "Your rhythm is just so on point." And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's kind of like what I was doing at first." But yeah, so I think it's really cool to hear how music, especially other instruments, can project themselves onto whatever you're playing. I think that's really cool. So yeah, and I know you just love music. What about music just is something that you love? I know you're a huge fan of music. What, like, because I know people are always like, I love this band because, but what do you love about just music in general?
So one is that I think for those of us like you guys who love music, songs are often kind of the soundtrack of our life. So there's songs that just take one back in time. I try not to be like a lot of my friends, like they only want to listen to the songs they grew up with. And it's like, come on, there's like so much great music like frozen in time. So I tend to try to make sure that I'm listening to new music and going back and forth and kind of keep my music radar alive. But you know, there's some Steely Dan songs that put me right back into my dormitory, Davis Hall. And it's like time travel. And, you know, there are songs I associated, you know, my Al Green's Let's Stay Together is my wife's, our wedding song. So, you know, I can be anywhere and I hear that song, and I'm with her origination in the moment. So they're just songs that I think they're so the soundtrack so much of your life. They're, we have two daughters who are now both in their early 30s, but we listen to music they listen to, right? So do you guys have a walk-on song? I assume everyone has a walk-on song. Do you have a walk-on song?
Oh, I do have a walk-on song, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah,
I feel like mine would change.
Yeah, mine would change a lot too, depending on like my recent moods. And stuff. But I think, I think my walk-on song would be, now I have to think about it again because
my walk-on song is Millie's "I'm Number One," which I know sounds but it was the song that my girls were listening to when they were in high school. So when I drive them to school, it was on all the time. I just that song got in my head, and
you're like, all right, this is it. This is it.
You might remember it's the song that Ty Law danced to on the duck boat when the Patriots won their first championship. And so that's why. And I think it's funny. I was saying to my wife the other day that even when I'm just idle, there's always songs. I'm listening to songs in my head all the time. Right, like, and I don't even know why am I singing? Me and Bobby McGee. The other day I walked in the house with Rose, me and Bobby McGee. I'm not a huge fan, but it was in my head. I didn't hear it.
I do kind of like that. Like, I feel whenever a song, regardless of genre, if it pops into my head and it kind of gets stuck there, I'm gonna go with it until it runs its course. I'm not gonna say, oh, well, I only want to listen to this. Like, if it's somewhere that's out of my periphery, I'll give it a shot, and if it's catchy, then that's kind of really all that matters. So I just run with it.
Yeah, and I think I think one of the things I really love right now is when I was growing up, there was really only a handful of companies, radio stations that controlled everything we listened to. So actually, you didn't really get a lot of they decided what new music you were going to listen to. There wasn't bands, right? It was controlled, and it was a handful of radio stations in the Boston area where I grew up, WAAF, WBCM. These were like the big stations that I would listen to. But we live, with Napster and then the sort of explosion of the music industry, there's so much music. You can get music, right? And I walk around and I've got all of the world's music kind of on, most of it on Spotify. It's kind of remarkable. It's a renaissance of music in my view. It's never been better.
And I think Spotify is really great for, again, just expanding and finding that new music. I found so many really interesting, almost sometimes very, very niche sounding music or just niche genres that I never would have imagined ever finding if it wasn't for being like, oh, well, people like this artist, and then from that, they like that artist, and maybe if you look over here, there's something cool. It's like a little choose your own adventure scavenger hunt almost.
Yeah, and if you do the like national radio, they'll intersperse national songs, which I love, with songs I've never heard of by bands I've never heard of. It's like
but it all fits together.
Their algorithms are terrific. Yeah, absolutely. But I have to say, it's funny now. I'm buying vinyl again, which we gave away our vinyl, and now I'm buying back the records I gave away. Like that makes no sense.
Oh yeah,
I will say my collection's been growing recently of records, but I need a new turntable because mine is crap. But yeah, I just need a new one of those. But yeah, I've been loving vinyl. I was just speaking to Weber lately about about a couple years ago they re-released it, but I want to find an original copy of Jack Kerouac reading poetry with Steve Allen playing piano underneath. So it's Steve Allen playing piano to Kerouac, and it's called Poetry for a Beat Generation. And I want it because I love all those poets. I actually have on vinyl Allen Ginsberg reading Kaddish, his poem. But my collection goes all over the place. Logan McCarthy, our beloved Logan McCarthy, he gifted me on vinyl a copy of Orson Welles' original broadcast of War of the Worlds.
Yeah,
which is so cool.
It's pretty fabulous. No better voice.
But yeah, but I've been just trying to diversify my music taste as well. Speaking of pop,
what are you listening to that's new?
Ooh, that's new. I've been listening to well, it's new, but it's not. It's an old artist that did a new release. Yusuf or Cat Stevens did a re-recording of Tea for the Tillerman, and he called it T for the Tillerman Squared. And oh man, if you loved the original album T for the Tillerman, you're gonna love that new album. He ends up taking Wild World and making it kind of like this bossa nova kind of style in it, which I love.
Wow.
Hearing him now singing Father and Son to me feels very poignant and almost like made me cry when I was listening to it. What else have I been listening to that's new? Not really that's new. I've been listening to a lot of older stuff. Recently, though, I'd say in the past couple months, I got back into... Actually, no, the past year, I got really big into Jonathan Richman and the Modern Lovers. Especially that live album where he does everything. Because when I got to play at SNHU again, which was that last year, I got Weber to do 2 different Jonathan Richman songs.
Yes.
We did I'm a Little Airplane and I'm a Little Dinosaur.
Oh, that's great. Good for you guys.
That was a fun time.
But yeah, how about yourself, Paul? What new stuff have you been listening to?
Not enough. You know, it's funny. I've been for all the wrong reasons. I decided I was never a huge Kanye fan, like the rest of my family is. So I went back and started listening to Kanye again, and again, like almost for the first time for me, because when he came on, I was like not that interested. He's crazy, right? And probably mentally ill, but he is a genius. I mean, I've been really enjoying sort of discovering what people have known for a long time about Kanye. So, but not really, I think, you know, again, I'm finding less time for music and less time for reading, which is 2 of the sort of casualties of the pandemic, and kind of just longer days. Feeling a little brain dead. Yeah, you know, by the end of the evening, I'm more inclined now to turn on something on television just because it's passive and I don't have to think anymore. I mean, it's what's good and bad about television.
I've been trying to make the effort to read because I just haven't been. But now I'm like, if I could do it, you know, before bed, or you know, if I take a break from work during the day, read for 10 minutes. Yeah. So far, it's been going really well, and I want to try to keep it up.
Usually, I'm a pretty voracious reader. It's really I'm feeling that, like the books are piling up on my bedside.
They're not going from the in to the out.
No, not at all. But again,
so actually, really quick, Richie, if you could pull them up, we have 2 viewer questions.
Yes, we do.
On deck over here.
Yeah. So the first.
I didn't know we had viewer questions. This is great.
Our first question is from Maria Selly. She is a SNHU alumni, a good friend of ours. How does a SNHU alum apply for an online teaching position?
We hire a lot of people for teaching. You do it online actually, and there is a team, faculty screening team or onboarding team. They'll sort of ask you to submit your CV. They can do the matchup between your skills and where they have needs. So it's a pretty straightforward process. We get thousands of applicants every year. So urge you to apply. You have to have, you know, to teach an undergraduate degree, you need to have a master's, and to teach a master's program, you have to have a PhD. So that's kind of the rule of thumb in all of higher ed.
Awesome. Sweet.
Excellent. And then
question, Maria. And then one from our former RA, Clay Gendron. He asks question for Paul. If you were to write a fan fiction, what would it be about?
If I were to write a what?
A fan fiction. What would it be about? Are you familiar with fan fictions?
No.
So fan fictions are it came out probably, I'd say, like mid 2000s.
Yeah.
Online, people that really love a source material, they'll write their own story that goes along with it. So people write fan fictions about Harry Potter, or they'll write all original characters that take place in the world and the story, and have them do their own story, maybe that are intermingles with a story like that. People have done their own with Star Trek, The Matrix. I'm trying to think of other really Lord of the Rings. People have been writing stuff. So if you could write a fan fiction. Fun fact, 50 Shades of Grey started as a Twilight fan fiction. Yeah. Just putting that out there because I'm not a fan.
Allegedly, yes.
Allegedly. But that was a dark time of the internet history of when all the Twilight fan fictions came out. But yeah, if you were to write a fan fiction, what would it be about, or like where would it take place?
And sorry for asking because it's all new to me. Are fan fictions always written about some piece of artistic expression? So it's always about movies or books?
I think usually, yeah, it's usually based on either movies, TV, or books. Something with kind of like a rich lore to it where people can pull from.
Yeah.
Which I think is super cool.
Yeah, so this is not going to fit into the rich lore category, but also it'd be great to do a fan fiction around The Sopranos.
Ooh, yes.
AJ's kind of stepped into Tony's role, in the family, like the next generation. Yeah, it'd be kind of interesting. But
that would be super cool.
What, no FPD? That would be the title of the whole thing.
Wow, for not being familiar with fan fiction 30, 45 seconds ago, that was like the best answer I could have imagined. I would love that.
Yeah, that would be a fun one, right? Maybe I got my next COVID project.
Right.
Another question came in from our friend Julia Montmany. Hashtag question for Paul. Do you now admit Patrick Mahomes is better than number 12?
Number 12 has 6 championships. Patrick Mahomes has 1. But it could very well be the case. He is a phenomenal quarterback. But I will say this, if we had Cam Newton last night, I think we had a legit shot at beating those guys because the defense actually held Mahomes to, 14 points? 12 points? 12 points, I think, right? And the defense scored 14. Yeah, so turns out you can't win football games without a quarterback, but who knew? But, we'll get him back. I think but Mahomes is a phenomenal talent. I don't know why I don't take to him though. Like there's something about his affect that I don't love, and I don't even know what it is. But he's phenomenal. Like, can't take anything away from his talent, and he seems like he's like a perfectly nice guy. So what I know about it.
Yeah, but so you have a big dedication to New England sports. So much so that I think this will be really fun to share, that because the game was postponed, we are now doing the podcast tonight, which I thought was so awesome that I got an email from you saying, hey, can we do this Tuesday because the game's on tomorrow, which I love so much.
And actually,
so dedicated to New England sports.
The best part about that was when Richie told me that we were going to have to push from yesterday to tonight, he just messaged me saying, like, are you free tomorrow? Paul has to push. And I'm like, absolutely, cool, whatever. I go into the socially distant email, while we're waiting for you to join. We're kicking around like in the 15 minutes before. And I'm reading through it. And I go, oh, wow, I didn't know that this was postponed because of the Pats game. And then as I'm saying that, Richie's like, Weber, he's here. I'm letting him in. And I'm like, oh, cool, let's go. And I was like, oh, I never knew that. That's awesome.
That seems like a good reason to postpone something,
absolutely,
don't you think?
Right? Exactly, yeah. I've postponed a lot bigger stuff for a lot less. And mainly, the big reason was because of tiredness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I tell you a story about a Pats game story? I was asked to speak at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, 2 years ago. So it was the night of the Patriots-Chiefs playoff game. Yeah, which was an amazing game, as you remember. And the Chiefs mounted a furious comeback at the end, and we held them off. And so to watch the game with the time difference, I think I stayed up till 4:30 in the morning before the game ended. And then I had a full schedule the next day. So the next day, power through the day. That night, I was at a party. I was invited to go along to a party in Davos that was hosted by Bono. And it was an amazing affair. It was private, kind of chalet. A lot of people, he didn't know me from Adam, by the way, so it's not like I have a relationship. But Matt Damon was there. So Damon's a huge New England sports fan. So there were tons of people taking their picture with him and a crowd around him. But at some point, there was enough of a break in the crowd. So I went over and said, hey, Matt, we haven't met. My name's Paul, but I know you're a huge Patriots fan. I have to ask you, did you watch the game last night? And he was like, oh, my God. That was unbelievable, right? And all these people were kind of lined up to talk to him, but we spent the next 20 minutes like nose to nose. Talking about movies. And then he was like, yeah, and I texted Tommy after the game. It was like, Tommy, great win. And he wrote back, he goes, look, he showed me his phone. And he goes, look, Tommy texted back, hey, Matt, thanks. It was a great win, but now on, we're on to LA. We're going to beat those. We're going to kill those guys.
Also, can I just say that real casual name drop of just Tommy? Just kind of in there. It was just perfect. That was. I'm sorry. I ended up doing that the Trump hands, but That was, can I just say that was a really nice humble brag you got there. Just like real quick, you dropped this name.
No, it was pretty cool. And then he told a bunch of other stories about Brady, but it was just fun to be like two people halfway around the world, just like living in the moment of a huge sports thing. I'm not talking about anything else. Like he didn't know who I was. I didn't know. We didn't get into anything except that. It was good fun.
Actually, what would have been really funny is if at the end of that conversation he goes, "Do I know you from somewhere? You sound really familiar."
Are you on TV?
Are you on TV?
Yeah, exactly. I should have said that to him. By the way, you look really familiar. Like, have you done plays or something?
Have you been in a minor role in the past 10 years, maybe by any chance?
Yeah.
So yeah, I have a bunch of questions. We use this great thing called
Actually,
Pod
Richie,
Decks.
I have
Oh yeah,
I
You
have
a couple
two
questions?
I have two like kind of Rona quarantine related questions. Two really quick ones, kind of
Yeah,
umbrella
and then
questions.
we'll go into
So
that stuff.
since this kind of started out as like a cure for coronavirus quarantine, and we've talked to a bunch of people who've been impacted by it with their their jobs, their life. So I want to ask a couple of questions. What has been sort of the toughest transition in your personal life, in your job? And this is going to be a really interesting take. Just what has been like the absolute most difficult part about switching over to all online, everything being sort of jumbled? What has been like the highest peak that you've had to climb over thus far?
People dying. Right. Probably hardest day was 2 phone calls, 2 mothers, both of SNHU students, both had taken their lives.
Wow.
Right. So part of what's happening with this pandemic is this enormous stress on people's mental health and well-being. If you are already struggling and fragile, so terribly sad situations. And I called both moms, and there's literally saying as a parent, nothing worse than losing your child. You're supposed to go before your child. So that was a pretty tough afternoon, but I feel very strongly that those are the moments when I have to make that call. Like that call shouldn't be from. There are lots of people on campus who would make that call and would want to take good care of those, but I feel like it's my job to do that. That's probably the toughest. And look at other people, if you know Eddie here, who's a basketball player for us and now works in advancement, he lost his mom. He couldn't be there at her bedside. Alicia, my assistant, she lost her dad. There's a lot of pain and suffering. 209,000 Americans are dead. We turned the world upside down when 3,300 people were killed on 9/11. But we're not willing to wear a mask? It's infuriating. So that's probably been the toughest part because there's an enormous amount of loss. And, people, there's a sort of secondary version of that, I guess. We just, we served, God, how many meals did we serve? 100,000 meals in the spring to kids in Manchester who would be hungry on the weekends. That level of suffering, right? And I just okayed another $75,000 contribution to feed kids again this fall, do our part in Manchester. So I think it's sort of grappling with that. That's been the hardest part.
Absolutely, and I could see where that would definitely be difficult. So my second question is kind of on the flip side of that. Is let's talk inspirational, uplifting. Throughout all the negative, crazy stuff that has been transpiring, just what have been a couple of things that you've seen either within your family, within other people, just the community in general, humans? What do you see people doing and think this is helping me get through all of this?
Well, I think there is we are surrounded by everyday kindness, and I see people leaning in so many ways. I see it with SNHU staff who knows maybe someone's quarantining and they're alone, which I think is really tough duty, and finding ways to reach out and connect with them. Or it's someone working from home with 2 or 3 small kids, which is its own sort of stress, enormous stress. And I think just the way people are leaning in, and you see it in our neighborhood, you see it with people, swinging by to check on elderly people and make the grocery run for them so they don't have to go out and expose themselves to the virus. I think, there's so much sort of unhappiness in the country right now, and tempers are flaring faster and people are impatient. You can sort of forget that that's kind of not the norm. The norm is mostly people really being good to each other. And it's important to remind ourselves of that. And I think one of the things that we have heard back from our employees is they feel just really, really well taken care of. We've been working really hard to make sure that we can do everything we can to take care of our people. And, we just this year, about a month ago, for the 13th year in a row, we're listed at the top 10 for the best colleges to work for. And we're the only university in the country that has made it every year since its inception, 13 years in a row. There's no other school. And, I think that speaks to a certain level of care and community. I mean, I know like the organization, we're all family here. And that gets overused and it's cliche. Yeah, we're all family until you fire me, or we're all family until I get in trouble, or you don't think my work is as good as it should. Like it's like, but there's a strong sense of community at SNHU, and we really do try to take good care of people. And I think it's a culture of kindness.
I would totally agree. And you made a good point of just basic human kindness. I found just in kind of like my experiences and sort of experiencing the world in times where things are just not great or really bad, sometimes the most uplifting thing is just basic straight up kindness, or just the most base human level thing. It'll speak louder than something more maybe grand or big. It hits the right way at certain times, and it can really make a big difference, I think.
Yeah, and actually what's interesting is the research shows that and this is science, right? So this isn't just my fuzzy, warm feelings about this. The research shows that in calamitous times like these, people actually do reach out to others more, not less. Mm-hmm. I know we have the sense like I'm going to hunker down and take care of my own. Like there's a kind of narrative around that. But in reality, people actually do the opposite much more.
Yeah. And but even if you're
not newsworthy, right? Those are not protesters squaring off against militia types in Portland, right? But those are the stories that make the news. But the reality is we're surrounded by goodness every day.
Yeah. And even if you are, sort of in your own space, that doesn't mean you can't reach out and be of help to other people, through phone call, text, email. Richie and I do this super frequently. We've all been very open with the fact that just doing this and getting to, have fun and, talk with each other or talk with other people, it definitely helps. And it's helped with other people that, we've talked to, just to kind of, at the end of the day, have an outlet to come on here for an hour, hour and a half and just talk and, kick the ball around.
Yep.
It kind of takes the edge off for a little bit, which is, you need it all you can get.
Yep, absolutely, for sure. Yep.
Yeah. Totally agree. Quick message too from Billy Beltmer saying, I miss being on campus and serving the kids and staff at Penn Place Coffee Shop. Stay safe, be well, everyone. Can't wait to come back and see you all. So that's a great message. Stephanie Hewitt from what's the name of the department? Health Services.
Wellness Center.
What was that?
The Wellness Center?
Wellness Center. Stephanie from the Wellness Center saying, so proud to work for this man.
Oh, Stephanie, you're so kind. Thank you.
For the kind words. But yeah, I just think it's we need something that we can do. I think what's really great about I think if there was one good thing to come out of this pandemic and this quarantine is that a lot of people took up a lot of new things and expanding their horizons. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I started. I kind of fell off the wagon, but I want to get back on it. But I started learning Mandarin. So because I feel like Mandarin.
Look, I think you're like a Renaissance man. Every time.
I also do improv comedy, and I'm in a sketch comedy group. That was a cool thing we did because we finally were able to get together and film some stuff. Especially topically, this last debate, we did some really funny. Little sketches about interrupting and different things like that, and how that was fun. But and just be able to do that, I got to perform live in front of people at the beginning of September. The great place in New Bedford. I'm from Lakeville, Mass. New Bedford, Mass is
Sure,
about
sure.
20 minutes. Oh yeah, you know New Bedford, Mass. Great city. Right downtown, there's a company called Your Theater, and they operate out of this old church downtown. And they did an outdoor performance of a one-woman play. All the seats are socially distanced out. It was great. It was really cool to be able to experience theater again, and not the traditional sense, but I got to experience great theater. But we got to open for them. My group, Not Safe for Earth, we got to open for them, which was so fun to get back out
Oh,
there and get my
cool.
creative juices flowing and everything. And yeah, if we weren't on stage, we were wearing masks. Everybody was wearing masks in the audience. It was great to be doing that again.
But
But
that's
yeah,
a special kind of courage. Good for you. Like that, I always admire like anyone who's performing, like even people in the streets, right? Buskers. I was like, you know what? Certain kind of bravery to have to get out and perform in front of people.
Yeah, for sure.
hmm
That's terrific.
yeah, it's so much fun, and because what we've been doing is digital shows. So we've been doing
Yeah.
digital improv and stuff, and it was so cool to be like in person doing it. So I was
Yep.
like, oh man, even if it was for like a 15-minute set. But
Yeah.
quick plug, we have a show this Saturday
Ooh.
called the Homeschooled Show, which is a completely different concept of what we're doing. We're not just doing standard improv games and stuff. We're actually doing a fully themed show with it's actually going to be a full story, a full improv story.
Oh, is this the classroom?
Yeah, where it's going to be in the style of a virtual classroom. We have different people playing different archetypes. So I'm playing the nerd or the dweeb. We have someone playing the princess, like from Breakfast Club. We have one playing like the rich kid or like the rich snobby kid.
Mm.
Think of like I go to the Katanza Club with my parents. So, yeah. Or
No.
then we also have the artist, and I'm trying to remember who else we have. Oh, like the jock slacker. So and then we're one of my good friends, Nick LeBlanc, shares the same name as Paul LeBlanc. Nick LeBlanc, he's a teacher in New Bedford, and he's teaching from home. He's actually going to be playing the teacher for it.
Yep.
So, but I'm excited for that, just because. But yeah, I just if people are looking for something to do, definitely Google is the best thing to do. Really, you can just
Yeah.
kind of think about new things if you want to take a look. Learn a language. Learn a language is fun. You can do it for free with an app. And yeah, something if you're
No, I
looking
think
for something.
right now there's this explosion of learning that's coming with the pandemic, like masterclass, if you know that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Their subscriptions are through the roof. People are learning languages, to your point. People are cooking like crazy.
Yeah.
They're playing with new recipes. They're learning. People are learning to garden.
Actually,
Apparently, yeah. People are
quick.
quilting. People learn to quilt and knit. I mean, it's like Little House on the Prairie 2020.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Quick story on the gardening before we do get to the pod deck questions, which are super
yeah.
fun. But you mentioned gardening and reminded me one of my very good friends from high school. I've actually known this kid since seventh grade, so we go way back, at least 10 years. He just recently, him and his parents built a little garden in their backyard. They're like, oh, we'll grow some peppers. They like peppers, tomatoes, stuff like that. Turns out he got really, really into the concept of, growing food and doing the garden, that it's expanded from one plot to two, and now there's spillover. And this kid is just full bore all
Great.
about it. And I was
Great.
talking to my mom about it, and she goes, "Oh, well, if he's really into that, you should give him a call and say, hey, maybe go to like horticulture school," because he was going to switch schools. And so I called him. I said, "Yeah, well, my mom and I were talking. She said you should try to go to school for horticulture or gardening." He goes, "Weber, I had to call you to tell you this. I am going to school." So like he applied to school and is doing online school through a
Wow.
local school to do horticulture and gardening, and just has this insane garden out in his backyard. And
Good
over
for
the
you.
past like couple months, it's just been like, dude, this is so cool. Like the
That's
the
great.
basket of like produce that they just have on their table is insane, and
It's
it's
so
been really
good.
interesting to see it grow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been doing a lot of it, and it's just fabulous.
We've tried to garden here. I moved to Lakeville. Our family moved to Lakeville in was it 2008 now? Yeah, 2008. So it's been over 10 years that we've lived here. And we used to live in New Bedford, in the north end of New Bedford. in a 3 tenement house that my grandfather owned. In our backyard, we had this square grass backyard, and then right behind it was a square garden, and then the fence line, the other property on the other block. And my dad used to grow so much. He used to grow zucchini. So every summer, like weekend, when we would sit down at the table and he would make food, it was always either grilled zucchini, roasted zucchini, just to get rid of it all. What else did he grow? He used to grow Long Island pumpkins, which were
Ooh.
like those smaller, more gray pumpkins. What else? And then in September he would grow sunflowers.
Ooh,
And
that's
it
pretty.
was really fun because my brother's birthday is in September, and we'd always have like the family cookouts. So he would rope off sections of the sunflowers, and the little kids would just run all through them and have a ball the whole party.
That's so nice. What a nice memory.
Yeah, but we can't grow anything here because we have a lot of deer that come by that like to eat everything that we try to grow. So he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna kind of stop the growing a little bit. But he is a chef. He went to school for it, so I always love his cooking. Weber can attest.
Yeah,
that
it's very
he's had
good.
his cooking.
It's incredible.
Yeah,
I'm very, very anxiously awaiting the next time I get to eat his food, which is going to be very soon.
Yeah, and it's fun because my dad's not Portuguese. My dad is, Weber. Would you agree? My dad is the whitest man to ever exist.
He definitely fits the bill for like dad joke cracking, white New Balance wearing, white dad.
Jean, plaid shirt tucked in.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's great. I love the man. He's fantastic.
But my mom was born in Portugal, and moved to the U.S. when she was 3. And my grandfather only spoke Portuguese, so he didn't really speak English, which was actually really cool because when my dad met my mom, that was right about the time where my mom's mother passed in the 90s, and my dad started cooking all this Portuguese food, and basically that was his communication to my grandfather, who couldn't speak any English, and he owned the 3 tenement house, and so we lived on the first floor with him.
Wow.
And he was cooking everything. My grandfather would go out sometimes and actually come back with buckets of sardines and fish and everything.
Amazing.
Scale them. My dad would cook them, and they would sit at the table and just eat the sardines off like the bone.
So, Richie, I think you can actually live happily in New Bedford and not speak English if you speak Portuguese.
Exactly, yeah. New Bedford's a huge Portuguese population, and then also recently a huge Guatemalan population, actually.
Oh, that's great.
New Bedford. My dad works at Sid Wainer and Son. I don't know if you're familiar with Sid Wainer, New Bedford. They actually were just bought out by the Chef's Warehouse, and he remembers, like, he works in marketing, but he would hang with all the warehouse guys, and all the warehouse guys were Guatemalan guys. So he learned about so much Guatemalan culture and everything like that, and
really
Guatemalan food.
It's fun when towns kind of go through these cycles of immigration and they get revitalized. Typical energy that a new immigrant community will bring to a place.
Oh yeah, definitely.
We live in Springfield, Mass. There's a neighborhood called the X. It's just described where a bunch of main streets came together. And it was kind of getting run down, et cetera. And then Cambodians and Vietnamese, Southeast Asians moved in. Next thing you know, new restaurants, and then they were buying houses and fixing them up. And all of a sudden, like overnight, you got this vibrant community, and it became the place to go to. Like, let's go for Vietnamese food tonight. You go to the X, right? Because that's what yeah, it's great.
Awesome. We have a quick question from our viewers, and then I'll go into the pod deck question. Hashtag question for Paul, which I think is now a hashtag that's organically happening, which I love. How do you handle the stress of being a leader during COVID?
I don't know. I don't want to be glib about it, so forgive me for pausing for a moment.
No.
So I think all is sort of going back to why we do the work. So it's 2 things. So one is it's funny because I have about once a month, there's a group of presidents, international, we're all friends, and we get together for about an hour and a half. So it's it's Friday afternoon for me. For my friends in England and Spain, they're having a glass of wine because it's evening. For my friends, Mexico, it's a couple hours earlier. They're maybe just finishing lunch. But we talk about, our heads of our institutions about, and I think what you realize is that you have to communicate like crazy. I think everyone is really drawing upon every ounce of leadership and management experience they have. And so, I have this in the beginning, in the middle of it, it was every Wednesday we do communications, and 2 days later, Q&A. Now we do this every other week. And I hear from people all the time that they just want that reassurance. They want to like see the Wednesday communication where the boss is saying, we're good, like it's okay.
Yeah.
They probably need less of me now than they did when it was unsure and what was going to play out. And then I think it's a time when you have to really hold the values and the mission and what the institution stands for. You have to keep that in front of people. Because, in times of real struggle, you don't want to lose that compass. It's like the North Star that guides us. And for us, it's really about staying focused on our students, taking good care of our people, take good care of each other, really kind of get focused on that. I think there was a time in my life when I think I wouldn't have talked about the stresses or what was hard. So I probably wouldn't have shared that story about the 2 calls to the 2 mothers who lost their daughters. But I think I sort of learned that I think guys are pretty bad at this. Maybe not all men, I shouldn't speak for myself. But I think a lot of the men I know, maybe it's generational, they have to portray the sense of strength. And it's funny, there have been communications where I have said, I had a really tough day yesterday and I was feeling really worn down by all of this, blah, blah, blah. And then I reminded myself and kind of got my feet. And I had so many of our employees say, it really was important for me to hear you say you had a bad day. Like it lets me forgive myself for my bad days. And we all have them, right? So I think it's also being vulnerable. But in that vulnerability, when I've sort of been able to say that to people, I've been so gratified by the way people have leaned in, right? They've been sort of really supportive. And then I think it's trying to sort of, it's all the standard stuff. It's like get exercise. I feel like I'm chained to the desk all day long. And Zoom calls. So, yesterday I did a kind of 5-mile walk with my daughter and her husband and the dog. And we have a house up on the coast of Maine, just 2 hours away. But so a lot of people don't know that this is the university's owned home. So the house we own is up on the coast of Maine. We live in a university home. But so we just go back and forth. I'm in New Hampshire today. But I think it's, and then trying to stay connected to people, right? We need each other. We need our friends and our loved ones more than ever. And one of the nice things that I'm hearing from people is that they may be seeing fewer people, but in many cases, and my wife and I would observe this, the people that we are seeing, often socially distant, but in each other's backyards, at 6 feet apart, those relationships feel deeper right now. It's like where
I could definitely see that.
It's less superficial. Like, we're living in a time when things matter. Politics matter, taking care of each other matters, safety matters, children matter, the environment matters. And, in some ways, it's no time for small talk. And that can include saying to someone, I just need you to know, like, you matter a lot to me. Like, right? And I said this to a friend, one of these presidents, who I was talking about just feeling tired, like it had been a long week. And I just said in passing, but we got Alum, and he emailed me right after and said, hey, you mentioned being tired. Like, are you okay? Is everything okay? And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm just tired. Like, I need a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
But it means the world to me that you took the time to ask. Right? Like, I think we have to we need to be careful to take a little extra time to ask. And the thing that's been invigorating, dealing with the stress, is I've been doing more of these weekly drop-in calls with various teams, and they're fabulous. Like, I'm just reminded, like, how great are our people? They're funny, they're smart, they're dedicated. It's been just terrific. They're like the high points of my week are those drop-in calls.
Well, that's awesome to hear.
That's awesome.
We always love some positivity.
The questioner, forgive me.
No, you're fine. You're absolutely fine.
Don't know if I read the name of the person who asked that question, but that was Anna Schaefer, who is a SNHU alumni who asked that question. So
thanks for the question, Anna.
Yeah, I love it. So we use this great system called Pod Decks, They
Okay.
are decks of cards with questions, and I always like to, whenever we have a guest on, really pull a couple questions that are just kind of fun, lighthearted, and kind of
Okay.
get you kind of thinking a little bit. So our first one is, when you were a kid, did you have any posters on your wall? And if so, what posters?
Ooh.
I can see
God.
Paul going like, I had the
Yeah,
was it the
everything.
Farrah Fawcett?
It was when I was a kid. I was like a teenager, so it was. And then it got slightly cooler, and it was Patti Smith and the album cover.
Oh yeah, was it for the album Horses? Or the,
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was a huge Patti Smith fan.
My fun
Yeah.
fact, my fun little thing. My dad got to see Patti Smith play at CBGB
Oh my
in New
God.
York. Talking
I
Heads
got
open
I
for
got to
him.
touch the hem of his cloak.
Oh yeah. But yeah. How about you, Weber? Did you have any posters?
When I was a kid growing up,
Or when you were younger? 'Cause we're still babies, but yeah.
yeah, well, like younger, really nothing on the walls. Maybe a couple like pictures, not really posters. As I got older, it was mainly like Beatles posters. I have a Hendrix poster that was in there. Just a lot of 60s rock based stuff. Now I don't have any posters in my room. At my parents' house, blank walls, and now I just have art again. So I had a brief period of, music related, and then in college I had the standard issue Pulp Fiction poster,
Yeah.
other various pop culture posters, as
Yeah.
is tradition. So within reason.
Yeah, growing up, so yeah, I didn't really have any posters like when I was a kid till I moved to Lakeville, and we had these bare walls, and until we got them painted, my mom was like, "Go get a couple posters." So I remember who did I have? I had one poster that I got, and it was Triple H and Shawn Michaels, otherwise known as D-Generation X from the WWE. Triple H go like this, and then Shawn Michaels kind of leaning in, doing his thing, and. Fun fact, the pandemic has brought back my love of the WWE.
Really?
I just love it. Yeah, it's that stupid sports entertainment that is just so fun. Really melodramatic storylines. People turning heel and turning face. Oh, it's so much fun. But yeah, I still have posters up. This is a spare room that I kind of turned into my man cave. I got my futon, the TV, everything. So I have my big Grateful Dead poster over here.
Nice.
And then kind of near my movies, I have my Jaws poster, my Back to the Future poster, and just kind of different stuff. And I have posters in my room still. I have a Paul Simon poster of Graceland, kind of the big cover for
Great
Graceland.
album. Yeah.
I love that album. I
It's a
got
great
it, I
album.
think, because I got the 40th anniversary of it. No, not that long ago. Actually, yeah, that long ago. On vinyl, so it came with that poster. And who else do I have? I have a big tapestry, and I have an Indiana Jones poster up. I have a small little hanging poster of just Danny DeVito, just because he's wicked cool. Just little things. But yeah, that's kind of what I got on my walls. I got my
Excellent.
big Portuguese flag right over here that I just got to put up, and then I also have Clockwork Orange and Willy Wonka and different things. But yeah, it's fun. And then I have, of course, Weber's artwork right over here, and my friend Mads's photo prints, because they all do photography. I love it. But yeah.
Can I show you guys? Since we've moved beyond posters in my house, but we do have some art. Can I show you our latest acquisition?
Oh,
Absolutely, that would be fantastic.
I'm going to cover the camera so while I walk, you don't get seasick.
Okay, perfect.
All right, so I'm still here, but I hate when people walk around with their computers. Like, what are you doing, dude? Turn the camera off for a second.
I'm going to take this moment to finish the banana. Oh, never mind about eating my banana. That's gorgeous.
That is.
This is a beautiful piece by a Cuban artist. You probably can't tell this with this camera, but it's actually not a painting. It's a photograph, but it's painted. It's printed on aluminum. So people, when they see it, they think it's a painting. And he poses the subjects in dresses that they own. So this young woman owns this unbelievable dress.
Wow.
She has this great enigmatic look. You can see her face. Oh, there's reflection. But it's a remarkable piece, and it reminded me of a kind of Spanish Renaissance painting. So that was our we looked at it for some time, and it was one of those things where it was like, oh, we should have bought it. And we finally called the gallery and said, do you happen to have that piece still? And they're like, yeah, we do. It's like, okay.
Yeah, the reds on that are gorgeous. Very striking.
Oh, yeah. I'm a sucker for color, so. Yeah.
All right, next question. Do you have a favorite T-shirt? If so, what's on it or what does it say?
Ooh.
Yeah, I have a really old vintage Triumph motorcycle T-shirt. It just says Triumph, but in the sort of great old Triumph script. So I'm a big fan of motorcycles, big fan of anything with a motor in it. So, and I actually just sold. I had a Triumph Bonneville that I just sold to one of our trustees who liked the bike, and I have 2 other bikes. So I'm not riding it. I'll sell it. I make a deal. So
yeah,
which is really cool vintage shirt. Yeah, and I have one also. My one I wear all the time is from the Flight Deck, which is new, and that's a amazing brewery up in Brunswick, Maine, on the old Brunswick Air Station. So they have Flight Deck, and it's got those sort of things. But excellent beer. It's a great place.
That sounds very interesting.
How about
Richie? I was gonna ask you, but yeah, I don't think I do have a favorite T-shirt. I guess we'll go to. It's not
your tie-dye. Is it your tie-dye?
No, it is not actually. The blue and purple tie-dye is a close. It's in the top 3 for sure.
That's a classic.
My go-to T-shirt is actually a Gap V-neck that is just ridiculously deep. Richie, you probably know the one. It's a light blue. I've had it since like 2011, 2012. How it still fits, I don't know. There's so many holes in it. Whenever I wear it, my mom's like, how are you wearing that shirt still? But it's just perfectly comfortable. It's a nice deep V. It's a good relaxing shirt, and I'll wear it until I just can't anymore. But it's kind of like my go-to lounge.
Nothing like a great well broken in T-shirt.
Exactly.
Yep.
I think my favorite is more of a recent acquisition. It's my Millington T-shirt. Millington is this band, ska punk band from New York. That is one of my favorites now. But they're kind of moving in the direction of a brass emo vibe, which I think is really cool. And we got to interview Cody twice from Millington. We got to interview him twice on the podcast. And the shirt just says Millington Instant Vibe. And it looks like a cup noodle. So instead of saying Maruchan Instant Ramen, it's Millington Instant Vibe. It's sort of the ramen font, and I just love it. It's just so much fun.
It's a good one
to wear. All right,
Richie, let's do one more. Round it out.
One more.
Ooh, yeah, and I should probably keep an eye on the time. I got some calls I got to make. But
oh yeah, no problem. We'll do this last one. I think it's a really fun one. What is the weirdest tradition that your family has?
Thanksgiving. So when our girls
were, that was quick on the draw.
yeah. No, it's we have lots of them. We have quirky traditions, but Thanksgiving we haven't done a little bit because we always do it when one of our daughters will not be around for Thanksgiving. So if that's going to happen, that usually means they're missing Halloween as well. So we'll do typically in July or August. We'll have a big full-blown Thanksgiving dinner with costumes. So we combine Thanksgiving. So it's roast turkey and fixings and cranberry sauce and mashed potato, all the fixings. But everyone comes in costumes as well, combining both holidays. And one year, the best one, and we often invite friends because it's such a good, cool dress-up thing to do. The best one we did was a Game of Thrones themed Thanksgiving.
Oh man!
So we had Khaleesi and dragons and Jon Snow, and it was very cool. That was a big hit.
That's awesome. I don't really think my family has any weird traditions. I can't think of anything. Even I guess traditions in general are pretty middle of the road. So I unfortunately have nothing. But Richie, I'm sure you have at least 2, one for you and then one to cover me.
I think like a big tradition of ours is food based. It's a Christmas meal that we have. So our Portuguese side of the family, my mom's side, they come over for Christmas Eve. And our tradition is not like a traditional Christmas dinner. Traditional Christmas dinner, you're either having turkey or ham with like a roasted or mashed potato, kind of whatever that you're having there, sort of like.
Richie, I'm going to guess. I want to guess. 7 fishes.
No, actually.
Well, you don't do that one? That's a very Catholic one. That's a very common. I think it's a Portuguese one too.
It is Portuguese. We actually do a Portuguese boiled dinner.
Oh,
Everything is boiled. It's called bacalhau, which is boiled cod. But
Ooh.
this is salted cod. So this is cod that has been dried out and salted that you have to reconstitute
right.
and then boil. And so it's usually that with boiled cabbage and boiled potatoes. So the house smells awful that whole day of
I
Christmas
was
Eve.
going to say, do you guys do this so that you really appreciate the Thanksgiving meal you have the next day?
Right? Yeah. Yes, because that's
Because
my
any meal that
dad's
we do,
favorite.
you boil everything. It's like, oh God, that sounds like Irish cooking.
No, but I mean I like it. It's good. It's good food. We have our traditional Portuguese bread, our pops that are Weber. I think you've had a pop
Oh
or
yeah.
two.
Oh
And
yeah.
and
They're really good.
it's just one of those ones that really it's like that once a year meal that you really appreciate. And I'm trying to think of another weird tradition that we have. Um, hmm. One thing we always do is if we ever toast and we clink our glasses, it came from my grandfather, but he would always say ching ching because that's the sound it makes when it
Yeah, sure.
clinks. So and that's just something that we always say is just ching ching, and we gotta clink the glasses. But that's kind of it, really. It's not something that's really like we don't have any like weird traditions, but
Yeah. Nothing too out there.
yeah. What's fun though, once a year we all dress up in these black robes and we find a goat
Yeah.
and we go out to this small clearing we have in back and we chant Miska Mouska Miska Mooska Mickey Mouse like the
I
Mickey
think that's
Mouse
it. I
Club.
think that's
Then
it.
we slaughter the goat in the name of our great overlord of Michael Eisner, and we sacrifice that in hopes that the Disney gods will finally release Song of the South on Blu-ray. Is it?
Richie,
I'm kidding. I'm completely kidding.
I think you found weird. Your boiled dinner was not it. Ching wasn't it.
Boiled dinner
You just went full weird on that one.
Richie, you started out weird, but within realm of keeping me tied down, and then you just completely
Yeah, you
took me
went off.
somewhere else.
You went off on that one, Richie.
So I think
that was the plan, Stan.
I think with that, on that note, I think we're gonna wrap up
Yep.
for today. Massive, huge thank you to President Paul LeBlanc for coming on the show. Snoo Prez. What else can we say? It's been an honor,
Hey,
sir.
guys. Thank you so much, guys. It's really just a pleasure to chat with you. It's always great to spend time with new family members, which you remain as alum. So
Excellent,
thank you.
excellent.
Thank you for having me. And say thank you to everyone who's been watching. It's great.
So absolutely, yes. Thank you everyone for hanging out with us. We're going to dial it down. I'm sure we all have some stuff we got to be doing. So everyone, stay safe. Stay healthy. Stay healthy because I still have to eat this banana. I got to still be healthy. I started it an hour ago.
Don't get bummed out. We're going to get this behind us. We will
Yes.
look back on this year and we'll remember how we were, but this doesn't go forever. So hang in there.
And most importantly, I need everyone listening and watching to stay socially.
Okay, one sec. Okay.
Guys, on that, I'm checking out.